Hello everyone, this is Scorpion, and welcome to episode 15. We are nearing the home stretch, and I just gotta say, I have been enjoying this as much as you have been watching this. Now, we are about to enter the heart of the Contaminated Zone, so be ready, and let's get to it. Chapter 15. I remember a time when I was fearing for my life, when I was terrified of what would happen if time ran out. 20 years later, it feels like it is happening all over again. I just want all of this to end, for my sake. Amelia rose from Amelia's shade. C-432-1, audio logs, Urban Shades archival subdivision, deleted by archivist redacted. I think it's the only black lines in there. Who knows? So number 27. I said, looking at a nearby wall as we were walking in the contaminated zone. I need to pick up the pace. I'd agree. Jargon II said. I'm losing oxygen so quickly I can taste it. We were in the contaminated zone for 10 minutes now, and the displays on our oxygen tanks were already saying that our oxygen levels were low. So we needed to find oxygen canisters, and fast. Suddenly, in an adjacent room, an old office space, I saw one. "Jarkin!" I shouted, pointing towards the contaminated office space. "Found a canister over there." Picking up the canister to divide the compressed air amongst each other, he answered, "Good eyes." After taking my fair share of compressed air, I started walking in the direction of the next quadrant. Do you think there's any signs to show us the way to the vault? Jarkin asked. I replied with, "I don't know." "Well, we'll have to find the vault soon. I'm starting to get restless," Jarkin added. Then, as I was walking on some wrong coral, during its ambient whispering, as the crunching on my boots and the spores catching the light of my torch. You know, the British way to say a flashlight. Reminder, she's British-Danish, so yeah. I saw a figure slowly unsticking itself out of the contamination. "Seems like you're not the only thing that's getting restless," I replied. Jerking out of the mutated fungus head first, it pulled its legs out of the slime and fell onto the floor below. Then and there I saw it. An almost humanoid creature with flat, clay-like coverings on the front of their body, covered with decontamination. That was useful for seamless camouflage into walls. This creature had no face, feet, or other bodily features except for stubbed legs and a humanoid mouth with a split lower jaw and sharp teeth. "Oh my god," I exclaimed. "Jarkin, do you see this? It's a lesser wall dweller." Okay, let's see. Where is the... Oh! There it is. "A what?" Jarkin asked, perplexed. "Do you have no idea what wall dwellers are?" I replied. "Are you uneducated?" For the record, I happen to be partly descended from some of the smartest people who ever lived, he added in an insulting manner. And they were from a completely different planet called the Worgasaria. "The Worga what?" I asked, baffled. "Are you making up names just to spite me?" "No, Emily, I'm not," he answered. "It's a real planet. It's actually the nearest neighbor of your kind." "Your kind? You mean you're not actually from this planet? Are you from this so-called Udinjurdist like you say you are?" "No. I'm not from that planet. It is extraterrestrial, yes, maybe it's sparsely populated for a planet this size, but overall, it's very similar to this one." "Oh," I answered. "Very well then. I stand corrected." Then we delved deeper into the contaminated zone. We were halfway through our oxygen reserves already. As we were getting closer to the lunar vault, I could sense that something was off. What I forgot to mention was that the Waldler that we encountered didn't turn hostile like the documents stated it was. It just moved past us in a rough, irregular scuttle, like we didn't even exist. Although there were many contaminated employees, zombies really, that just stared at us as we were walking, they didn't even try to show signs of hostility. That is, until this happened. You see anything? Jarkin asked me, as we were in an infested electrical station. Nope, not yet, I replied. Do you see anything? He answered. I remember Navi telling us that there was a lever of sorts that served as a master key in an electrical station of this description. Wow, I did. You sound exactly like Navi. This electrical station was almost the exact same color scheme as the server farm that we were in before we came into the contaminated zone in the first place, except that the walls were more of a bone color, showing signs of age, albeit with ugly, greenish-black growths of burnt coral on the walls. Everywhere we stepped, there were exposed and live wires next to broken glass from the windows of the breaker rooms. Above us, light fixtures were bolted into the cracked ceiling, many with Edison bulbs that had popped, burned out, or were fading and reaching a peak until they flickered and died. And those zombies were still staring at us like we were dead fish. Hey, Emily, I found a breaker room in pretty good shape. That was enough to send me bombing across the room to the circuit breaker. Emily, maybe it's best not to rip the fuse box open? Don't worry, Jarkin, I replied, opening the circuit breaker door. I know what I'm doing. As soon as I touched one of the fuses, I felt electricity surge in my body like the venom of a snake. Jarkin the second looked at me as I winced, so I stepped aside. Luckily for you, Jarkin commented, I happen to be an electrician. When it comes to Jarkin the second, he's a handyman. Yeah. Resting his hands on top of the fuse box, he was talking to himself as he was scanning the fuses. Looks like some of the fuse numbers have smudges on them. I think those are the ones to flip. He was right. As soon as he flipped those switches off, the zone's power went out. I hear something. Jarkin spoke in an observing manner after closing the circuit breaker door. The sound that he was talking about was the laser grid turning off for the vault's catwalk. The zone wasn't just dark, it went dead. There's someone behind you, I said, worried. That was the moment those contaminated employees went absolutely berserk. First, we could hear the sounds of fingernails scratching at the insides of the walls, the scratches sounding like they were coming closer than before. My HUD flashed a warning. 30% oxygen, just as all hell broke loose. That was the moment those undead husks came ripping out of the contamination-infested walls, the fungus-covered floor and breaking through the dilapidated ceiling. Many of the horde were running, sprinting towards us like madmen, as they made only decayed noises of heavy and raging breathing, loud shouts and noises that I would only identify as almost human. So, like the contaminated revenants they were, Jarkin and I, who sprinted for our lives. Barely hitting the sides of many contaminated lunar guardsmen that were trying to punch us into repose, we ran through the quadrants of the contaminated zone as fast as we humanly could. More and more revenants were clamoring toward us, flooding the corridor like an undead tsunami. As the blast doors of the vault's decontamination chamber were closing, we slipped through the gap just in time for the doors to close on the many revenants in the front lines, getting immediately crushed by the blast doors, gushing in a puddle of fungal gore. As Jarkin pulled the lever to start the decontamination process, I stopped to take a breath. Whoa. I forced the words out of my spore-covered breathing mask. I can't believe we got this far. Do you believe we are justified to be here? Yeah, I hope so, Jarkin replied. The point we came here, I believe, was really a test of endurance. Endurance against danger. You better be right. Sterilizing. Navi announced over the decontamination chamber's PA system. Complete. I'm glad you two didn't die. Yeah, same here, Jarkin replied. The vault has been unlocked. Navi acted. Navi added. Deactivating vault defense system. Thanks, I replied. The traps are gone, but their eyes aren't. The blast doors opened, revealing the catwalk ahead of us. All we had to do was walk to the other side. Coming across the vault, I can only jot a couple things down, as we were trying to be expedient with our expedition. But the few things I could write are in this list. From the point of view I was looking at, I could see that the lunar vault is in the shape of a pentaconticahenagon, or a 51-sided sphere. Each side was roughly 51 square feet. And most of all, the inside of the vault was only lit by one single globe. A globe that looked like the moon hovering 51 feet above the fragment. Going in this in light mode. Yeah, I noticed a recurrence in the number 51. Yeah. Even Emily's surprised. As I was writing this, I realized how many times the number 51 was occurring in my notes. Walking into the vault, I felt my vision get blurred to a near sight as the fragment gave out a loud interstellar pulse. The number 51 kept appearing in my sight, vibrating more violently as I got closer to the vault. I got closer to the fragment. Jarkin couldn't feel it, though. Emily, you alright? He asked, giving me a worried gaze. Something just bugging you? I looked back at him, a small smile peeking out of the corner of my lips. Don't worry, Jarkin. Is your okay? Another pulse. This time, it felt like someone was hitting the inside of my skull with a hammer. I'm not okay. I thought, my smile dissipating as quickly as it came. Emily, your head is pounding. I could hear my counterpart whisper from the back of my mind. Why not try to drown out the noise? I gave a pained groan. I can't. It's very. As I was saying this, everything started to deafen. The only thing I could hear was the abnormally amplified pounding of my own heart. A third pulse. As I neared the sleek pedestal of the fragment, I felt as if I was ripped out of my own body. A hand. I reached out with the fragment, the hand emanating with the soft, warm glow that goes to my mother's. Out of the nothingness of the hatch, the owner of the hand said, "Take my hand." I reached out, my hand looking like that of a shade. My fingers touched the fragment. Then the trap snapped. The hand turned a saturated green. The motherly glow died. The hand grabbed me with such a violent force that upon realizing who it was, I was too late. It was Mr. Lopi. He knew that I would take my mother's hand and touch the fragment. What happened after, though, was that I was in the vault with him, but he was just staring at me, those pale green eyes burning through the darkness. Then he spoke. You seek a family that has no chance of healing. Nothing awaits for you but sorrow. Remain vigilant, Emily. There shall be a crumbling world in your future. And just like that, he left. Yep. That is one big prophetic foreshadowing within itself. Can you guess what it's for? Yeah, just kidding, you probably can't. Oh no. Emily. I heard someone say in the distant nothingness, and the voice got louder. Emily. Emily, get up. Opening my eyes, I realized I was staring into the ever-defect eyes of Jarkin Takuma II. You okay? Rubbing my eyes, I replied, groaning. How long was I out for? Not that long, actually, he replied. As soon as you touched that fragment, you started having strange convulsions. I was terrified that you were having a seizure or a stroke or something. And shocked me nervously, he added, "At least you're alive." I got up, wincing from the pain of laying crumpled on the ground, like a balled up piece of paper. Oh, as an extra, Jarkin muttered excitedly. pulling the fragment out of his leather black and brown satchel, holding it up like he was the Statue of Liberty. I got this. Now, are you ready to get out of here? Looking up into his eyes, with a smile, a mask of apocalyptic dread, I added, yeah. Alright, Jargon replied, stuffing the fragment back into his satchel. You heard it here first. Now let's move out. We both broke into sprints, leaving the vault with its foreboding architecture behind us. Wait, I exclaimed. I turned to Yark in a second. Don't we have to come back the way we came? If we do, Div Over indulged them. Jarkin's gaze turned towards me. He had a look of sad knowing on his face. I know. And if we have to fight our way for that horde, so be it. The Navi interrupted us. Actually, for the sake of the preservation of high-ranking specialists, there's a third option. You can go for the exit tunnels to the next air tram dock. I will mark the path to the dock. Then with the sound of a double blip, the 4 lights lit up, leading us to the tram dock. So we went. Our final exit. This was our final exit from that decaying facility. As we boarded the tram, I had a faint feeling that this was not yet over, as the door slid shut and the tram lurched forward, taking us up to the surface. I had an overarching feeling that this was only the beginning. Emily, what are you thinking about? Jarkin asked, interrupting my line of thought. For a second there, it looks like you were in a completely different world. I just chuckled softly. It's crazy. Impossible, even. I managed to get into the vault that easily and leave, completely scot-free. Forgot to mention the zombie horde. Jarkin added lightheartedly. That was a challenge within itself. Oh, that reminds me. He reached into his satchel and pulled out the fragment. I wanted to give you this. I forgot though. He reached his hand out to offer me the rock. Here you go. Looking at the fragment, I contemplated whether or not to take the fragment. What that thing did to me, a mere object, was terrifying. I didn't want to replay that, so I refused the offer. Keep it. It's not mine to take. Sorry. Pulling his hand back to look at that strange object, he added, Thank you. I always wanted to conduct research on this thing anyway. Really. Thank you. Not so most. I added a smile tugging at my lips. Reaching into my jumpsuit pocket, I pulled out a spare toy remote. Take it, friend. Take it as a token of my gratitude. It's yours. He took the remote. Thank you. Jarkin replied. What's it for anyway? About that, I added, if you press the big red button, you will be able to summon your very own, not so imaginary friend. Then pointing my thumb to myself, I added, me. Laying his fingers on the remote, he replied, Interesting. Before shoving it into his satchel. Well, I guess I'll see you around. Before he could finish his line of thought, I threw his arms around him and gave him a big hug. He looked so confused. I'll admit that I was nearly flattered. Oh, okay. Thank you. He muttered, patting me on the back awkwardly. Du Mega. Willkommen. Willkommen. I replied, sitting back on my seat and closing my eyes for the rest of the ride. As I drifted off, though, I knew that crumbling world he promised was just beginning to make itself known. That is chapter 15. Thank you for reading this with me, and I will be sure to see you tomorrow for the last episode of part 1 of A Video a Day. This one is probably one of my favorite chapters. I really put a lot of detail into this, so it's one of my favorites. Anyway, I will be with you guys tomorrow. It's Lorman Guardsman Scorpion signing off. See ya!